your hockey team of choice has won twice in the past 10 games. Some of those have been among the ugliest home losses we've seen in Pittsburgh in decades. That's firing territory. Good morning to you. Good Monday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Penguins. It comes your way bright and early every weekday if you're into football and or baseball. I also offer daily shots of Steelers and Pirates in the same place that you found this. As we're speaking right now, you and I, Mike Sullivan's tenure as the Penguins head coach has never been at a lower point. Whether you are or not in favor of Sullivan being replaced, that part is true. It's never been lower than this. The Penguins have given up 91 goals more than any team in the NHL, and it ain't close. Next highest is 17 goals away. They look disorganized at times, disinterested at other times, occasionally both. They don't go to the hard areas of the rink, much less make something happen there. They don't defend hard in any of the three areas of the rink. They aren't responsible with the puck. And then, at the very end of the line, as if to ensure icing is on this figurative cake, the goaltending hasn't been any good either. Other than a couple of good showings from Alex Nedeljkovic and a couple of good showings from Yoel Blomqvist, who isn't even in the NHL now. All of that's bad. All of that's really bad. Maybe the only positive to take out of anything, certainly over a weekend in which the Penguins got smoked by both Winnipeg and Utah, was that Nedeljkovic finally became the first player to say anything about this a quarter of the way into the schedule. This was Ned after the 6-1 loss to Utah.
Got to move on. I don't know. That's the only way I can move on. It sucks. It sucks. I mean, I don't know. The only other way I can maybe say is, like, if we want to stop feeling like this after games, you want to stop getting embarrassed at home, like, do something about it. I don't know. We pay a price. Do something. Feel something else. Like, anything else feels better than whatever that was tonight and what we've been kind of putting out there as a whole this year.
Good for him, man. Good for him. I'm actually, in a lot of ways, on a lot of levels, glad it was him because he's legit. He's not one of these, we just need to keep doing this, we need to keep trying this. There were some positives tonight. Or to me, the even more disingenuous, we really let the fans down. We apologize to the fans. That was Evgeny Malkin a couple of weeks ago. And you don't say something like that and then not back it up in the very next game. And they didn't, and he didn't, meaning Gino. You heard, that's why I wanted to play the sound for you here. You heard Ned's voice there. It's pretty much quivering. He's so emotional. That was the kind of stuff that you used to get from Lars Eller and really from no more than a couple other guys. Why is that? Well, I don't think that they all don't care. I think that to some extent they don't want to show up Sid, and Sid's not the type to say things like that. Sid doesn't like negative anything. And actually, Sid's personality is that he likes to stamp out negativity where he hears it. Well, it's everywhere. It's all around now. And it's mostly around the head coach. And listen, I'm not going to break any new ground here on that front. If today, Kyle Dubas, and of course with the approval of the Fenway Sports Group people who love Sullivan, if they were to decide that's it, he's gone, I'd understand the move. I'd proceed to the next subject. My issue is, I don't think it'll do a thing. And I'm not sure that the people who do think that it's some sort of panacea have really thought this through. Let's get specific here, okay? Let's name names. Do you think that a new head coach, no matter who it is, could come in and get you $11.5 million worth of value out of Erik Karlsson? Do you think that? Forget the system, forget the pinching, forget the other stuff. Just answer that question right there. Do you think they would get 1/8 of your payroll's worth of value out of Karlsson? Do you think they'd get 1/10 of your payroll's value out of Tristan Jarry? Meaning, after he comes back from a month of doing whatever in Wilkes-Barre. Do you think this head coach would be able to turn Matt Grzelcyk into anything other than an unmitigated disaster as an NHL defenseman? Do you think he'd be able to tell Chris Letang what to do? Or for that matter, that he'd be able to tell Sid and Gino what to do? I don't know, maybe there is somebody out there. Maybe there's some godlike coaching creature that was spawned from the ethereal concepts of Scotty Bowman and Badger Bob and Herb Brooks and whatever. And it's just, he's the greatest and would instantly command respect. As soon as he'd walk through the building, the players would just fall at their knees in front of him and listen to everything that he says. And he'd be the magical, different voice that everybody's waiting for. Come on, man. Come on. This isn't about me defending Sullivan, as I'm constantly hearing from people. It's not a matter of defending him. I think he's done a really lousy job this season. And I just finished telling you that if they fired him, I wouldn't take issue with it. But if anyone thinks that anything's going to change other than for a couple games or at most a couple weeks with a new coach, you're out of your mind. When we come back, J1Q. This episode is brought to you by Bet Online, your number one source for all your summer sports needs this season, from Major League Baseball, golf, NHL, NBA playoffs. Get the latest odds and lines, including all team matchups, player props, odds on just about everything that's out there. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. Bet Online, where the game starts. Today's J1Q comes from Kevin Mooney, who says, DK, is Mike Sullivan's contract and Fenway Sports Group's obvious fondness of him the reason that Kyle Dubas is apparently not willing to ever overrule Sullivan's lineup decisions? If so, wouldn't replacing Sullivan give Dubas the authority he needs to truly proceed with a rebuild? Kevin, I think you were warmer than you might have realized at one point and a lot colder than you could have known at another. I'm going to tell you what I mean by that. FSG's obvious fondness of Sullivan, as you described it, is real. Their respect for him is not some, drummed up thing that they put on a press release. He's tight with these guys. They know him. He knows them. They trust him. He trusts them. So the authority that you're describing here that Dubas is lacking isn't what he can do or can't do with a game day lineup. It's whether or not he's empowered to change the coach, which obviously is a way bigger deal than who are you going to use tonight, Ryan Shea or Jack St. Ivany. Does Dubas have that authority to make that decision? The best and most accurate answer that I can give you on that is that I don't know, because I can't. However, any decision that gets made of any magnitude, and this, by the way, applies across the scope of big league sports, is done in consultation with the owner. The owner doesn't want to find out about stuff like this after the fact. They're never, ever, ever, ever surprised by it. And, as you can imagine, in the process of sharing something like this with the owner's going to, once in a while, bark back, or at least ask some pointed questions, and say no. And my belief is that there would be a really hard line of questions, possibly followed by an equally hard no. And sure, some of that's the money. I mean, that's just common sense. Remember that it was the FSG people who signed Sullivan to the long-term extension, and they did so without regard to signing either of the two people over Sullivan, Ron Hextall and Brian Burke, to similar matching contracts, which is usually the way business is conducted in sports. You want your coaches and managers and GMs all to be on the same time frame, So everybody's together. Nobody feels more secure than anybody else. And we're all in this and all that other happy stuff. So this was their call. This was their investment. And it's their necks, basically, in terms of who do you blame for this or that. So it's an unusual circumstance in a lot of different ways. As for your original question, I'm not avoiding it here. I just wanted to get that out of the way first. You don't want your GM making lineup decisions, even small ones. You can say something to the coach like, hey, we brought up, I don't know, Owen Pickering, first round pick. You don't want to mess with him. He's playing well in Wilkes-Barre. Your head coach couldn't have seen that. He's busy with the Pittsburgh team. You share what those reports are and you repeat, just for emphasis that we don't like to bring up a first round pick and just have him sit in the press box, especially when he's playing well. We want him to keep feeling it. So that's the way you kind of throw, those subtle hints without making the coach feel like you've hijacked his lineup. And there, of course, are lots and lots of conversations here, too. It's not just a matter of somebody stamping a decision somewhere and then somebody else having to veto it. They talk. Opinions are shared. Analytics are shared. Video observations are shared. So I have no doubt that Dubas, given the way he carries himself and given the way he conducts his own staff, meaning his assistant GM and the people around him, I have no doubt whatsoever that he has no issue communicating with Sullivan, including with stuff like this. It's just a matter of how you word it and how you kind of stay in your lane, so to speak. I appreciate the question. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Penguins. We're going to do another one of these tomorrow.